Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he also has some more beautiful words to add to this. And so he says, paradise is a destination on the Day of Judgment, right? Paradise is a destination which will be there on the day that we meet Allah Azza wa Jal. But there is another paradise on this earth. And this is, he describes, وَجَنَّةُ الْمَعْرِفَةِ وَالْمَحَبَّةِ وَالْأُنْسِ بِاللَّهِ وَالشَّوْقِ إِلَى لِقَائِهِ وَالْفَرْحِ بِهِ وَالرِّضَى عَنْهُ وَبِهِ. He says that the paradise of knowledge and love and being fond, with Allah Azza wa Jal, meaning to like one's company with Allah Azza wa Jal, and to be fond of meeting Him, and to rejoice with Him, and to be pleased, with Him. This is the abode. This is what the soul of a person sees as his home in this life, right? In other words, if you see your home, if you make your home to be these things, these are the things which are paradise on this earth, right? This is what he's saying, right? So basically, there's an abode in the hereafter, which is Jannah, and there is an abode in this life, which is also Jannah. What is that abode? It's these things here, right? It is the paradise of knowledge, pursuing knowledge and love of Allah, and being fond to meet Him, and rejoicing with Him, and being pleased with Him. This now is the actual paradise. So paradise isn't like, for example, the green or blue beaches that you're going to see, for example, in the Maldives or whatever else it might be, and the hanging gardens and the vines and this paradise on earth. This is paradise. You look at these things, it is paradise on earth, like what the kuffar. That's not the actual paradise. Is this what he's describing, right? So this is the paradise. So now, if on this earth you make that to be your home, so you make knowledge and being pleased with Allah and being fond of meeting Him, and you make this to be your abode in the life of this world. He says, whichever person's soul makes these things to be the abode in this life, right? كانت then the eternal paradise will be his abode on the day of resurrection, right? كانت جنة الخلد مأواه يوم المعاد. Then the eternal paradise will be his abode on the day of return. And whoever is prohibited from this paradise in this world, وَمَنْ حُرِمَ هَذِهِ الْجَنَّةِ فَهُوَ لِتِلْكَ الْجَنَّةِ أَشَدُّ حِرْمَانًا. So whichever person is prevented from this paradise on this earth, meaning not the beaches and the vines and the hanging, meaning the knowledge and being pleased with Allah and all the other things which are in the heart. Whoever is prohibited and prevented from this paradise on this earth, then he will be even greatly prohibited from that paradise, meaning in the hereafter. And then he continues and he says, وَالْأَبْرَارِ فِي نَعِيمٍ وَإِنِ اشْتَدَّ بِهِمُ الْعِيشِ. The righteous people are in bliss. They are in bliss. They are in pleasure. Even if life is severe and difficult for them. وَضَاقَتْ بِهِمُ الدُّنْيَا. And even if the earth, the world becomes, constrained upon them. And as for the fujjar, وَالْفُجَّارِ فِي جَحِيمٍ, the sinful people, the evil people will be in the hellfire, even if the world is expanded for them. Even if the earth is made, great and open for them. And then again, he mentions the very same verse, مَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنْثَى وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ. At the end of the verse. And Likewise, there's also another statement of Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, and inshallah we can finish with this particular statement from Ibn al-Qayyim, which is, he says that he says that those people who have been given this good life in the life of this world, they are the ones who Allah Azza wa Jal is benevolent to. He's benevolent to them in the life of this world and in the hereafter. And as for those who turn away from this, they are the ones whom Allah has made wretched. And He makes them wretched in the life of this world. He mentions the verse in the Quran, وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِ فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكَ وَنَحْشُرُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَعْمَى. Whoever turns away from my remembrance, then he will have a narrow, restricted life. Right? So remember here, a person can have all the wealth and the riches in the world, but if he turns away from Allah's remembrance, he will have a narrow, restricted life. Even if he's the richest, and this is why the people, you see these evil people who are the billionaires and the oligarchs and these rich, powerful people, their lust for wealth isn't satiated. They want more and more and more. Right? They are not happy until the pound that's in your pocket. They want that pound as well. They have to have that pound in their pocket. Why should you have it? And they make schemes and stratagems to take that pound out of your pocket. And these people who basically, they've got billions, if not trillions, under their disposal. Why would you need that? What is it? Because after a point, it goes beyond wealth. It goes into control and power and the feeling of having power. This is how it happens with people. They start with wealth. The wealth increases. They realize wealth gives them some degree of power and influence over people. And the wealth gets more and more and more. Then it turns into power and the lust for power. And the fact that you can now start affecting people's lives. Imagine the buzz these people get. I can destroy this nation and I can make this nation prosperous. I can starve those people and I can make those people, This is how tyrants arise. This is how they start calling to worship of themselves. Right? So, the point being that even these people with all of this wealth and all of these riches, why are they not content? Why can't you be content? Why can't you just leave the people alone and be content with what you've got? You have islands, you have yachts, you have this, you have that. Why can't you be content? Right? It's because these people have turned away from Allah's remembrance, and there's no satisfaction in their hearts. They are not at ease. They are not at peace. They are not tranquil. Rather, they are disturbed. Right? And they don't sleep at night until they can think like that peasant over there in village. He's still able to feed himself and put money in his pocket. That has to be in my pocket. Right? This is literally how these evil people think. Right? They are psychopaths. Right? So you become. This really is like a type of you become mentally ill if you do not have the tranquility of the remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah's remembrance, turning to Him, it gives you tranquility, it makes you content, it saves you from all of these these evil things. So as Ibn al-Qayyim, he mentioned the verse, whoever turns away from my remembrance, then we will make for him a narrow, constricted life. So remember, this is not talking about wealth, or is talking about the heart, right? And disturbance in the heart, and anxiety, and grief, and greed, and all those things that basically poison your heart. Even though he could be the most affluent person in the world. وَنَحْشُرُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَعْمَى. And we shall raise him in the hereafter as one who is blind. And likewise, the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, فَمَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. To whomever Allah wants to guide, He opens and expands his chest to Islam. Right? He opens his chest to Islam. And and to the one whom he yurid an yudillahu, and to the one whom he wants to misguide, he makes his chest to be dayyqan haraja, to be. So as for the one whom Allah wants to misguide, then he makes his chest to be narrow, constricted, كأنما يصعد في السماء, as if he is going higher and higher, in the sky, where it's becoming more and more difficult for him to breathe, and it becomes constricted. And so Ibn al-Qayyim then says, فأهل الهدى والإيمان لهم شرح الصدر واتساعه وانفساحه وأهل الضلال لهم ضيق الصدر والحرج. The people of guidance and Iman, they have open chest, it's expansive and open. And as for the people of misguidance, then they have a narrow, constricted chest, and they have hardship or difficulty. So we can stop at this point, inshallah, today's lesson, conclude our lesson there today. And so in essence, what we've done in today's lesson is that we've looked at some of the specific meanings that the Mufassirun have used to explain al-hayatu tayyibah. And that is al-rizqul halal, al-qana'a, to have lawful sustenance, like sufficient amount of lawful sustenance, al-qana'a, to be content, and to be given tawfiq, success by Allah Azza wa Jal in obeying Him, and to live a life of obedience. That's what it means to have a good life, right? And that doesn't mean at the same time that you will not have poverty and hardship and difficulty and ease and pain and illness. These things are part and parcel of what Allah Azza wa Jal has created us into, as a trial, right? But you can have a good life, and this is the meaning of good life, right? And as Ibn al-Qayyim said, it all returns to that which is in the heart. The heart's Iman, the heart's love of Allah, reliance upon Allah, turning to Allah, being fun to meet Allah, being pleased with Allah Azza wa Jal, all of these things. And in fact, I want to mention something very quickly. We'll come back to it in the next lesson, but I want to mention it here, which is we know that many people, they enter into Islam, and when they enter into Islam, there's like a feeling that these people have, when they enter into Islam, just merely by making the shahada or saying the shahada, the moment at which they make it, right, they either feel extremely happy or they start crying, and that's because of the Iman which has just entered into their hearts and removed all of that gloomy darkness that was there before, where they had no being content, being truly happy, being, all of that was completely missing. They've lived a life of that completely missing from their lives. And in the moment when they understand the meaning of the kalima, when they understand what it means to say La ilaha illallah, none has the right to be worshipped except Allah alone, right? And the heart then attaches to Allah, as opposed to a whole life of, for example, being attached to relationships or drugs or wealth or a career that you're pursuing, which is just tiring you out and wearing you down. When all that goes and the Iman enters into the heart, then immediately they start feeling some of the things that we've mentioned earlier on. A feeling of tranquility that you've never felt before in your life. A feeling of joy, a feeling of relief from all the world's hardships that were on your shoulders before, and now they've just disappeared just like that. So often you see people who become Muslim, at the point of becoming a Muslim, when everything goes and dissolves and it's just the heart and Allah and His Tawheed, everything dissolves, and they feel what they lived a whole lifetime without, and now they felt it. So straight away, many of them they cry or whatever. So this goes back to what we said from Ibn al-Qayyim, when he mentioned that some of the people knowledge, they said that sometimes we feel certain things of pleasure of the heart, and that And we think that if this is what the people of paradise are feeling in paradise, then indeed they must be in a good life. Right? So we see little signs of this, in the life of this world, and all of that is the good life and the ingredients of a good life, as we mentioned. This is what helps a person to experience and feel those types of feelings.